Hello, and welcome to a new player's guide for Opus Magnum. This is the latest puzzle game from Zachtronics. And for fans of Game Wisdom, you know we did a new player's guide for Shenzhen IO. It seems like it's been like years, but it was only about last year since it came out. And while I'm by no means an expert at these games, I can at least provide new players with kind of the tools and knowledge to get started. And maybe with this game I can actually take it all the way. But for this video we're going to go over the absolute basics and kind of expand on tutorial knowledge of how to play Opus Magnum and what it means to solve these puzzles. So what I'm going to do is we're going to load up Stabilized Water, which is kind of the like the test bed, I think, for a lot of new players. Now, I'm going to assume that you've already gone through the basic tutorial lessons. That would be these right here. Let me get back in here. Ooh. And this is a solution I was working on that I actually mixed up and changed. But here's my first solution to this crazy puzzle. Now when it comes to Opus Magnum, like previous Zachtronics games, it's all about efficiency when it comes to understanding the knowledge of the game. You can do a lot of these puzzles just essentially by brute forcing with a very complicated and slow solution. But if you want to stand out among your friends and peers, you have to get creative. Now when it comes to puzzle solving in Opus Magnum, you'll notice several key elements on the UI here. Over here we have what we can actually build. These are the products of what we're looking for, reagents of what we're going to use, and then the mechanisms and glyphs are the items we're going to place to perform said tasks. Down here are actual commands. Over here is actually programming our commands. And you program the mechanisms, specifically the arms. Let me stop things here. So for this puzzle, the idea is to produce this, or stabilize water. A glyph, or what we have right here, is what transforms the water into a salt atom. Now let me go through the commands here, because this will kind of help explain what we're doing. Most commands or most programs start with this one, the grab instruction. This causes all the grippers on an arm to close in. That means if there's an atom underneath it, it will pick it up. If the arm is closed and moves over an atom, it will not pick it up. Now over here, and then we'll just start going from left to right. The pivot instruction will rotate the atoms in the arms, not the arm itself. This is really only useful if you have two or more atoms bonded together in a single arm. Extend and retract right here are useful for when you're using this arm, the piston, which allows it to obviously go out or come back. This basically allows it to move atoms without moving the arm itself. Pivot instructions, same thing, just the reverse of this one. Drop. This will drop any held atoms and is used for essentially putting them inside our products, or leaving them in a spot for another arm to pick up. The minus and the plus are used for tracks, which is this. You can set a track as long as you want. Minus will move it towards the minus end, plus moves it towards the plus end. And then rotate are going to be your common instructions used for rotating the arm itself and otherwise rotating the atoms. And then down here we have three special instructions. The period override instruction, basically this will allow you to add additional steps to a program, because normally these programs are going to be kept in sequence so that everything will move in alignment. This prevents that from happening. But you can also do this by, say, placing a command right here. What's going to happen is that this will continue functioning and repeating, but this will stop until it gets to this cycle and performs that drop instruction. The reset instruction is useful for basically restarting your entire program and moving the arms or whatever you have back to its original position, while repeat instruction simply just repeats the preceding set. This is useful for programs where you want something to repeat itself, let's say 3 or 4 times, while something else is working on another set of instructions. But explaining these things can be a little tricky. So let me show you one that I did here. And you can see the reset or the repeat instruction in action. What's happening is that is repeating it 5 times. And meanwhile, number 2 is essentially in hold while this gets formatted. And then, of course, the arm moves out. And again, not the best one for the job here. Now, when it comes to doing the more complicated stuff, another major part of Opus Magnum is essentially dual reagents, or being able to use 1 for 2, and you're going to see that here. And this time, I am going to go step by step. Both of these arms are going to be taking atoms from the same source, but they're going to alternate. Right here is a bonding glyph, which as long as once 2 atoms are put onto it, it will automatically bond. Now what's going to happen is that number 3 is going to move up, while number 4 will go in reverse. And in doing so, this guarantees that there's always work being done, and there's always going to be an arm there to do it. I came pretty close to being my friends there, and being right on the best, right there at 27 cycles. Of course, the downside is this costs a whole lot to do. So apparently some of my friends figured out how to do this with only spending 40. Now we haven't talked about this yet, but in terms of the histograms, you are graded on 3 specific areas. The cost, or the number of parts you use, the number of cycles that it takes to get the solution, and then the area, or the number of spots you actually went over in order to do it. So as you can see, some people manage to do this very low at, looks like 5 or 7 right here. But I'm going to load up an actual new puzzle, and we're going to try and solve it here, and talk about some of the thought processes involved. And this is just the story. So this introduces a 3-part bond, which as you can see, it can be done in any which way. Once again, you're always going to start with your product. So it wants 1, 2 of these, and then 1 of that. So it looks like we're going to have to double it. Now one thing that's very nice is you can use this for a 6-sided solution, or 6-sided movement. It allows things to just move along there. And as with previous Zachtronics games, the best thing to do is to try and put things together piece by piece. So I know that we are going to have to make use of 3 of these. And of course, I can rotate this as I see fit. And again, one of the best things about these games is that no matter what I'm showing you folks, it's not really considered spoiling because of the fact that the solutions are open-ended. So we need to get everything over here. And you can also extend these arms to begin with and place them in different positions. But unless you have a specific piston arm, it will not be able to extend or retract further. Now this is going to start. Now I'm going to want it to rotate. And I'm going to mess up on these rotate instructions, I can tell you that much right away. And this is why step by step is usually good. Now if you don't do any commands, it will just repeat ad infinitum. Now, as I said earlier, the reason why it didn't pick things up is that you must always open the claws or open the arms again in order to pick something else up. So that's going to be going. Now, we need to get things organized. And I'll show you what the pivot instruction does with just one of these on. See, it's just rotating it. If we had multiple ones, like with this, it would surely work. So I'm going to set you up right here. We may be able to do this without getting a third arm, but we'll see. So I'm going to tell it to go here. Oop, wrong one. Pretty sure that's the wrong one. Yep. Like I said, if there's one thing you don't want to rely on me for, is making sense or being able to remember these rotate instructions. Now, as you can see, there is a bit of a problem here. So what we want to do is we're going to stop this. That's going to let it go. Oop. But the problem is that it's not holding. So what we can do, we can use a period override. So let me see what we do here. Oh. It is not keeping it. So here's one thing that we can do to make things easier. We can actually move these commands forward, causing a delay. There we go. Now the question is, I think we can do it right here. Also, another constraint. You cannot have atoms hitting the internal part of the arms. So like this part or this part. So let's see if this will work. And voila. But we have a bit of a problem here. We solved it for one, but we didn't solve it for the rest. So let's see why it's not working. So what we need to do now is we're going to do a reset instruction, because this is basically set up to run infinitely. It's not going to mess with anything else, but it's our number 2 arm that's doing all the work. So let's see what happens now. Let's set it up right there. Why aren't you working this time? Okay, I see. So let's go move there. Okay, what if we just do that? It's going, there we go. And now we'll set up a drop right there, and then a repeat. Alright. So I think the best thing to do, so it's going to do that. Let's set it up right there. And then the repeat again. Or the reset, I'm sorry. Not sure why that is happening. Ah, I see. This should do the job. Oop. Okay. So from here, we want to go back. And when we did it this time, it did not work. Because we have to wait for the right command. So, let's try it like this. Yeah. Because it's trying to sync up, I think this is what's causing the trouble. So maybe a delay is in order. No. So this is working. But this is moving a lot faster, it looks like. So we may just have to brute force this. So let's do a double of this and then repeat. There we go. Now it's going a little bit faster. And then we rotate it one more time this way. Again, just trying to talk your way through these puzzles does help out. Okay, good. Oh, did not drop. There we go. The problem, though... No, actually, we're good. Never mind, there wasn't a problem there. Not bad. Definitely beat the average in terms of area. Someone actually took... Is that right? Someone took 40 pieces of real estate to solve it. Not bad. And still below in terms of cycles. And of course, you can record a GIF of it to show people that you are so clever. I'll be uploading that one to Twitter, and if you follow me, you'll probably see it at GW Bycer. But now that we got this solved, let's walk through what's going on. So the number one arm, or the 6-sided one, it's basically, its job is to keep bringing our air atom. I think that's what it is. Yeah. While our second arm, the waterproof sealant, is bringing the piece there to combine. Now, another thing we could do, if we wanted to get very crazy, is have multiple glyphs set up to try and work along that way. Now, is there a way to better organize this? Now, during this space, this is probably a way we could make things a little bit easier or more optimized. During this space, it is not moving any atoms forward because it's a dead space before it repeats back the original instructions. So it does that. Then this arm moves back there. Grabs it. So what we could do Now if we move these things back, everything is right now set in alignment, as you can see. I don't think if we set up a second instruction or set this up to restart, because I mean it's set up here. And we don't want this because we don't want the arms to go backwards. So I think for this solution, this is done. But let's see if we can come up with something else, and then we'll wrap up the video that way. So again, there's our product. Here are our reagents. And you know what? This time, let's set something up with the track. Let's get fancy with this. Now, you can place the beginning part of the track anywhere you want, but it will take up area. So the best thing to do, just to save you a little bit in terms of points, place the track down where you want to start, draw it out at least once, and then place the arm down. It'll just make it easier on you. So this time, we're still going to need to use this. And we have infinite space to work with. Now we need to move. 1, 2. Now, if we're going to do this like this, we can't have them both grabbing at the same time, because this will cause an error. So typically I start the number 2 commands one step ahead. So let's see what happens. And again, we want to set this up to use our track. Now this cannot intersect. So 1, 2, and that will get pulled over there to make 3. And then we'll probably swing this around. Now we could also do this with one arm. Go 1, 2. We could actually try that quickly. So what's going to happen is I'm going to place this down. I'm going to tell it to go plus plus, drop, return. Yeah, but this is very step heavy. And we don't like to do that here in Opus Magnum. We want to be as efficient as possible. So this time, let's set up arm number 2. I think this may cause an error, but we'll see. Drop, drop. Let's see. I must be on a track to move forward. Oh. Well, that explains why that wasn't working. There we go. Yeah. So it's being pulled 2 different ways. So what I usually like to do is set this up right here. Or actually, let me see. Maybe this will be enough. There we go. Now we want things to return. I'm trying to set this up in organize so that 1 starts its commands, 2 will then start its commands, and then 3 will follow at the end. Because if I set the number 3 commands here, it's going to be out of sync. So once this is there, these two are, their job is basically done. So we're going to do a reset here and here. There we go. And now he has to do his job. So I'm going to come back over here. And we're going to start it right here. Should do it. Or it's going to go in the wrong way. I bet it's going to do that. Yep. We want that there. And then this will give me the idea of... Ooh, it would also help if I actually grab it too. There. And now we want it to start turning. So let's turn it again and see where this thing ends up. But as you can see, we have a bit of a problem here. And this is what I was talking about before. So I want to see this. We probably need to push this out at least 1 more cycle. There we go. So we know it's going to end up here. I want it to drop. And I want it to reset. Good. And problem solved. And as you can see, we did this a lot differently. It used up more area, unfortunately, but it was also a lot shorter. My previous best was 47, it's now 38, but the downside is that it cost a whole lot more. And you're going to find that doing everything perfectly is not going to happen. You're going to have to push in one of these 3 areas to really make your solution work. Unless, of course, you are super powerful, when you are, the best alchemist in the world. But I'm going to let the machine run for a second, and we'll talk about what is going on. So, the number 1 and the number 2 arms are both moving on a track to deliver 2 atoms of air. Number 3 is pulling the water and then also taking it and turning it into the output there. All 3 are set up to reset, which you can see right here. And the reset command will always automatically add in the commands needed to move the arms back to where it was originally. And that can be very useful, like I said, once you've gotten things down to an automated point of view. Now, if you want the arms to wait or do something differently while they're returning back to their original position, then do not use the reset instruction. And repeat again, this is just a way of allowing you to quickly do more commands without having to do this manually. Also, as another thing the game doesn't tell you, which I did but I want to point out, you can drag and move commands as you see fit. That way, if you want to move a set of instructions either back or forward, you don't need to delete them and then just type them in somewhere else. I found that to be a lot easier. And you can also drag and move pieces like so, as well as delete them. But again, when it comes to Opus Magnum, I'm sure there are people with a lot better solutions. Of course, we have proof of that right here. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys have any questions, you can try to leave them below. Like I said, I am by no means an expert player, but hopefully this will get you in the right mindset and thought process for thinking about these puzzles. And as you saw over the course of this video, you can do things very differently to get the desired outcomes. But thank you so much for watching. If you're new, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check back for daily discussions on game design here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. And be sure to check out our Patreon if you would like to get into our private Discord. If you want to see more of Opus Magnum, definitely let me know in the comments, but that's going to do it. So until our next video, have a good night. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check back around 10 Eastern for regular streaming. If you'd like to suggest games for me to cover or topics to talk about, let me know in the comments below. For a collection of my writings as well as weekly podcasts on design, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the Game Wisdom Patreon, you can find us on there on patreon.com/GWBycer. $1 will get you into our private Discord channel where we talk game topics and more. $5 will get you voting privileges for any major event, including the Saturday Night Grab Bag, Patreon-funded goals, and more. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoy more videos here on the Game Wisdom YouTube channel.